Hi there. Yesterday I was watching a DJ set by a DJ called Ôneyra on a channel on YouTube called HÖR BERLIN. This was a really cool DJ set. I enjoyed it a lot, and what stood out for me is that it was sort of the harder, noisier kind of techno that I don't listen to all the time. But yeah, I thought it was a really cool DJ set, so I looked up some of the tracks that were in there, and I got inspired to try and make something similar today. So a little bit harder and noisier techno than what I usually do. Um, Now if you look on Beatport, there are genres like hard techno and hardcore and stuff. I'm always confused about the exact genre name, but what I'll do is I'll put a link to the YouTube video in the notes for this video, and you can check it out yourself. So anyway, this I'm going to make a loop this style, and some of the things that go into this are for first of all a lot of distortion, distorted kick drum, distorted bass, a lot of noisy, distorted tearing sounds, distorted voice samples, distorted synth sounds. You get the idea. Second thing, it's usually quite fast. So let's just start with 135 BPM, something like that. Yeah, let's just get going and get started on a loop. A few other things are while I get this going, I'll just load up a drum rack with a lot of kicks. I know there's a few very nice distorted kicks in there, so I'll use one of those. Yeah, so other things are percussion loops, sort of sometimes little breakbeat style things, or sort of mid-rangey, noisy percussion loops. And I think a lot of, especially the mid-rangey sort of low and high mid sounds will go into this, that make it give it that sort of abrasive, aggressive quality. So anyway, let's start with the kick drum. So this would be a good candidate, named after my hometown, Rotterdam, which especially in the 90s was a big place in hardcore music. Not so much techno, but more like the gabber stuff, and everyone seemed to have a bold shaved head and wearing a tracksuit those days. Anyway, this one, Aliens, I like that one too, so let's compare. Yeah, let's go with Aliens. I've used that one before. Now what I sometimes do is I'll take a little bit of the high end with an EQ. Not so this time. We're gonna go for the full bunch of this. And just to get started, one of the other things that I heard in quite a few of those tracks was some variations in the kick drum pattern, or it was maybe the DJ doing that, but classic variation like this one, or another one would be let's see. I think this one, which are nice at the end of like a section, a 16 or 32 bar loop. You get this, and then so 3 times, for instance. You get the idea. So let's just give these different letters. So yeah, let's do one more variation. Maybe something like this. The previous one was like that. Does that work in a sequence? this repeats. Something like that. Yeah, let's call that 1D. So now we have some stuff to vary with. Okay, so onto the bass. I have a nice preset for this that I want to use. I think it's here in my instrument racks. No. Where do I keep it? In the user library. Instruments, instrument racks, bass. This one. This is a distorted tom sound. There's some preloaded things, an EQ, a Pro Q3, as well as this nice free plugin called Lufticus, which can add some high end. Let's turn that off for now because they're not actually doing anything. Okay, so standard pattern here. Now let's see what this sounds like. Slow the volume a little bit. Let's make the volume a little bit higher here. The right pitch. I had this idea for a pattern. So sometimes these tracks will have very simple 8-note patterns like this one, like just straight 8 notes. Sometimes there'll be the faster 16 notes and of course lots of variations between those. I thought maybe this would sound okay. Maybe not, but let's see. So maybe we should make the release a little bit longer on this, or so there's filter envelope going on. Actually, that's pitch and filter envelope. You can see here, envelope 2 in Diva here is doing tune mod, pitch mod. Okay. Too long that it doesn't sound right anymore. Interesting. Okay. What if we turn off tune mods? Don't hear anything. Okay. See, so this sort of sounds distorted, but actually it does not have any distortion on it. So let's try that. Let's try some Decapitator. Such an ominous name. Different distortion models here. I thought I'd go for the punish straight away. You can also use the normal drive control, of course. Okay, let's look at the EQ. There's still enough low end. I've added this sub filter here. That seems to be doing something. Oh, still missing some of the really low end. something like that. Okay, so now when it comes to sort of the main sounds in these kinds of tracks, there's a lot of ways you can go. We can go with synth sound, we can go with some vocal samples, we can just go with some noisy stuff. Let's just try some random noisy stuff first. And who else than Microtonic? Here, a lot of the patches that it will generate on its own, if you press randomize like I did just now, they'll be very of the sort of noisy variety. As you can see already, one of these tracks uses a lot of distortion. There's a very good distortion on this plugin. And like I've demonstrated before, if I press randomize, I'll get 8 randomized drum sounds and 8 sequences. So if I press that a few times, chances are quite high that I'll find something I like. So let's just see what we have here. Let's just go through a few instances here. Yeah, this is here we get some of the drum sounds that are actually sounding like what I want to have here for this kind of music. That's a pretty standard hi-hat. But this, for instance, sort of noisy thing, that's a good one. This as well, so the noisy hi-hats. Some background noise. So this one, I think, and see whether that works as a loop together. Yeah, it actually does. So let's solo this one. Oh, I meant solo. So it's interesting that in the oscillator part here, if I push, drag the mix all the way to the left, there's actually some noise going on here. So that's because for pitch mod, the noise source has been used. And if you then make the amount and rate large enough, you actually get a form of noise. And then we have this here. Like this, and then this one. Okay, and then together with the rest. That's definitely usable. That's definitely in the vein of what I'm going for here. So as a loop, maybe we can make this a little bit fuller, add something to it. So since we have this open anyway, and all the other sounds, they didn't sound that useful. So we'll use track 3 and track 5. Let's just make something on track 1. So here we had some basic noisy. So what if we would just make this a straight 16th pattern? Something like that. Now, we can put a lot of distortion on everything, but sometimes too much distortion will cause the sound to disintegrate, lose its sort of snappiness. Okay, let's see how that sounds together with the rest. Okay. Not sure about this subtone pattern. Let's just try the the straight 8th. And let's try a little bit of an attack on it. Maybe there is too much high end in this after all. Yeah, let's as an alternative try a more vanilla bass sound as a start. Maybe some longer notes. So the tom sound is nice. I think it's actually more suited to a 16th note pattern. So now we have the 8 notes. The tuning is G, G1. Let's see, G1. That's sort of what it does good. It does best. But let's try something else. Let's get an operator here. Add a little bit of FM here and just get a very sort of deep, solid bass sound for an 8th note pattern. I already drew that in, but the tuning is probably not right. Sounds like an A. Yeah. Okay. A little bit of attack to get rid of the clickiness. Or is it decay or release? I mean, sorry. It's always a little bit clicky with these very low notes. It's just. Oh. Select all of them. Doesn't have to be that much of a problem. Actually, it doesn't matter. It's not due to the attack. It's due to the transition of between the notes. So when one ends and the other one starts, you get this sort of jump in the waveform. So let's go for a very sort of basic, recognizable thing. Big sidechain on this, which is not actually a sidechain, but LFO2, which I use a lot, not just for this sort of effect, where the first 8th note, part of the 8th note is sort of ducked, not completely. You can specify here how much of the volume you want to be affected. For instance, 50% will give you this. If you go for 100%, then basically this part will be silent. So let's see how that goes with the kick. So we definitely need some sort of distortion or increase in the harmonics here to make it stand out. So let's add the, again, decapitator. Something like that maybe. Oftentimes I like the first model here most. better than in the tom sound. So without, with, and let's just, you can see there's a small dip here in the sub content, but not that much actually. So yeah, let's go with this. I like this better. Maybe filter it down a little bit. Some high shelf. Yeah, I think that's more of what we're looking for here, what I'm looking for. Has this sort of driving quality to it. Maybe we can still repurpose this for something. Maybe not. Maybe let's just get rid of it. Okay, now together with the loop. You'll see me do this all the time. Just drag the MIDI clip from within the interface of Microtronic onto the track. It's great, very useful. These noisy loops, they do tend to have a lot of low end. I'll just filter that out. Okay, so far so good. What's next? We could try some vocal sounds. I hardly ever use vocal samples. I do have a few sample packs with some stuff in there, so let's give that a go. What do I have here? I love free stuff. I should go on another hunt for some free vocals. Bought these a long time ago. Maybe they're so old that they won't be recognizable. Don't go.
The dog run.
This is why I don't use vocal samples a lot, because you have to go looking for stuff. Maybe I can use some of this. That is some sort of interesting noise at the start here. This very sort of short, repetitive sort of quality that is quite aggressive. Add some distortion, that's really the name of the game here. Maybe play with the timing a little bit. Not completely well, the timing. Maybe change the pitch a little bit. Changing the pitch without having warp engaged will change the timing as well. The lower pitch will mean that the sample plays slower. A higher pitch will mean the sample plays faster. That's the basic, the sort of general behavior of samples. Sounds really Star Trek like when I say warp engaged. Warp is engaged, Captain. Yeah, so not for this one. Let's try some effects. Yeah, I like this the best. Sort of the noise at the start now seems to be in tune with the kick. I like this timing best, but we sort of have the problem that the second one is cut short here. So the way we change this would be to change the starting point of the loop to this, and that will give us the same effect. but now both notes ring completely. Okay, so. Maybe some reverb. Let's get the good one. Valhalla Room. So by the way, I didn't mention it, but you saw me doing this, right? I engaged the filter here and put quite a bit of drive on there. Okay. Yeah, let's add some more percussive stuff. Let's go for a clap sound. It's just a pretty standard. Let's just go for a simple 808 clap. Always works. So, for instance, I have the Sample Magic pack here, which is for free. They have a very nice 808 and a 909, and I think also maybe like a 707 for free download. Sample Magic. Be sure to get those if you're at all into these kinds of sounds. I try to not use them all the time because, of course, you know, all the 808 and 909 stuff, it's been done to death. But it still has its place, I think, especially for something like this. Anyway, less talking, more claps. Let's get the clap in here. Where is it? There's also a cowbell. Insert more cowbell joke to taste. Okay, let's go for a very nice sort of hardcore sort of doubling the kick drum pattern. This would be something to add to give it more power. Again, this sounds nice because it's 808 clap. You can use a little bit of grit, some filter drive, some resonance, some more drive. Here we go. I'll lengthen it a little bit. Something like that. Okay, a noisy synth part. I'm feeling silent one here, maybe with some distortion on top. So let's go for a sort of a ARP like sound. Let's just start with initializing this. Command J. I'm hearing an ARP or sort of a 16th note sequence in my head. Interesting. So first I thought there was a tuning, and I have the bass here set to A, but now I'm not sure whether it's G sharp. It's more like a G sharp, so we should change maybe the sub here as well. Yeah, it's kind of sharp. Better, or is it? Might actually interfere with the kick. That's interesting. So the kick, the pitch of the kick is sort of ambiguous, right? Because there's no reason why it should be perfectly tuned to an A or a G sharp. And also because the way a kick drum works, it's changing over time, the pitch. So sometimes I find it sort of, you can interpret it in multiple ways. let's just pitch this up by a little bit. We could leave this as something to fix later, but I wanted the sound right now. So with the detune parameter here, or we could go up one semitone here, maybe lower it a little bit from there. That doesn't sound good. I think that's better. Okay, so let's go with A and not G sharp. Let's see how that sounds if I put in the notes here. Okay. Something like this, sort of, I don't know, 90s rave sounding. Let's go for sort of super soul detunes sound. See whether that works. With distortion, of course. That's just drive, filter drive. Sounds good. And then there's this warm drive thing, but let's just go for straight distortion here. So we have a lot of flavors of the overdrive and distortion here. Maybe they're not gonna give us what we want. This decimate, no, we don't want digital distortion. So one easy trick would be to just add some noise that could give it a distorted sort of sounding quality. Let's try that. And let's go for Decapitator again. Just this name doesn't lend itself to be pronounced normally. And that's sort of what I'm looking for here. Very sort of nice crackling, distorted sounds we get from this. Still, I think it's too short. Actually, the noise is helping here too. Okay, let's go with this. There will probably be too much low end in here. So let's filter that out. Let's play with the envelopes a little bit more. Yeah. And of course it needs reverb. And maybe some delay. That makes it a little bit messy. So let's just go with reverb. I think I can use some extra grit. Something like a little modulation effect of some sorts. Maybe the chorus. Or some phaser. Flanging. We need flanging. Let's try flanging. Audio effects. Flanger. There's some good presets in here. That's a little bit too much. Swirling. That's a little bit too much high end in there. Maybe this works, filling in these gaps here. Definitely need to shorten the attack, the decay, sorry. Not sure whether the flanger is doing what I want it to. Let's try something else. And Phase Mistress, Audio Toys, plugins, sound toys, not audio toys, sound toys. Phase Mistress has a gazillion presets in there. Let's see if it has flanges as well or similar. There's like this relation between flanging, phasing and chorusing that I don't understand, but they are sort of they're related, I think. Phase, phase. I'm not sure whether this actually does flanges. Phases, I don't know. Triggered. Don't get triggered. Stereoizers, also interesting. Not for now, but oh so much thing going on here. So much stuff. Let's just try some stuff. Something like that, yeah. Maybe we don't need the lower notes in this sequence. Now with the kick variations. Actually, the proper thing to do would be have a real sidechain on the bass here. So when the kick patterns changes, it'll also affect the sidechain and thus give the correct sort of volume attenuation on the bass. That makes sense, but for now this is nice. There's some stuff going on here. Okay, maybe one more thing to add to it. Some sort of noisy, maybe like a backbeat. Or some sort of noisy sample. Again, let's just try some sounds in microtonic. See whether that gives us some a final thing. Of course, you can go on forever adding sounds to this stuff, and it might come very useful when you start to arrange it. Use different things. I think these kinds of tracks have a little bit more variation and transitions than sort of the deeper stuff. Anyway, let's try some more things before we close this out. So there's this very soft sound. Which one is it? This one here. let's just go for this without the accent, maybe with. The tempo isn't. That's what I was looking for. Adds a backbeat where needed. You could have that as well, along with the claps. Probably don't want to have those playing all the time. Okay, so that is our hardcore/noisy techno loop, whatever you want to call it. A little bit of a departure stylistically from me, but I think this sort of thing can be a lot of fun to experiment with. So that's how you do that, or at least that's one way to do it. So yeah, I'm going to leave it at this. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this and or found it useful. If you want to hear some of my actual finished music, go to Bandcamp or to SoundCloud. I'll put some links in the video description. And again, like I said at the beginning, I'll put a link to the DJ set that I mentioned as well, so you can check this sort of thing out yourself. Let me know what you think in the comments. That's much appreciated. I will read the comments. I will respond to them. I might even I can also take requests if you want me to make a certain kind of thing. Just let me know, reach out, and let's talk about these things. So again, thank you very much for watching. Until the next one, bye bye.